In this video, let's learn about what is ASP .NET Core. ASP .NET Core is a web development framework that helps developers to create web applications. Therefore, first of all, in order to understand it completely, we need to understand what a web application is. A web application is fundamentally a network communication program that has two parts, a client and a server. The client sends a request to the server, and the server replies a response. In the case of web development, typically a client is a browser, and the server is usually called a web server, and this is where a web application is hosted. Because it is a network communication program, the messages that are sent back and forth between the browser and the web server have to follow certain rules. Just like when you communicate between two people, they need to use certain language that follows certain grammar. You can try to send something like ABC to the web server, and the web server is going to receive it. It is just that the web server won't be able to understand it. Therefore, it won't understand what you want the server to do. The rules that communication messages must follow in network communication programs are called protocols. In the case of web applications, the protocol is called the HTTP protocol. The message that is sent from the browser to the server is called a HTTP request. And the message that comes back from the web server to the browser is usually called a HTTP response. Now, we have mentioned that a web development framework like ASP NET Core helps developers to create this web application. So let's break it down a little bit. A web development framework needs to help developer to understand the HTTP request based on the HTTP protocol. So therefore, the first step is to understand the request. And after it understands the request, it will need to execute the actual business logic. Every web application is created for a purpose, and usually it fulfills a business purpose, and we call that business logic. So this is the core part, right? We need to be able to execute the business logic once we understand what the request wants us to do. And finally, we need to work on produce the result and put it into the HTTP response so that it can be sent back to the browser to be displayed within the browser. So the third step to produce results. ASP NET Core provides us a framework to complete all of these three different tasks. Although we as developers should focus our energy in implementing the actual business logic here, we should also know how ASP NET Core works, because the other two parts are not done automatically for us. We need to understand how they work, we need to be able to configure them, we need to be able to use them properly. ASP NET Core provides this framework, and we need to fill in the blanks. That is why we have this course for you to help you dive deep into the ASP NET Core framework.